Hey, what's up guys? It's Diana here with Passion to Business TV, transitioning to Entree Womanpreneur. So, but we're not going to get into all of that and why we're changing or anything like that. In this video, we're actually going to be having a little bit of tough love. We're going to be talking about how to get control, how to take control of your life. So, but before we even transition into the intro or any of the information, this is going to be a little bit of a tough conversation. If you're somebody that you're looking for kind of like a pat on the back kind of material, something to make you feel good, you probably want to check out one of the other videos that I've done before in personal development, or maybe even something else on YouTube, because in this video, it goes there. So we're going to be talking about that in this video coming up next. Hey, what's up guys? It's Diana here with Entree Womanpreneur. So, reason for this particular talk, because this is going to be a bit of a longer video. If not, you probably want to check the length on this one, but I gauge it's probably going to be for a little while. But the reason why I want to do this particular conversation and this topic is because sometimes we have to learn to get out of our own way. And to do that, it's not always easy. To do that, we can't always sugarcoat it. We can't always feel the best and, a pat on the back, or basically, put a Band-Aid on, a bullet wound. That doesn't solve the problem. And sometimes we have to have a little tough love. So before I even share anything, before I talk about anything, before you feel like I step on anyone's toes, I want you to know two things. First thing is that anything that I say comes from a place of love, whether you know me or not, whether you've seen my information before or not, or anything, is that it always comes from a place of love. And then the second thing is that I'm telling you from my own experience. I'm not telling you from anything that I've read. I'm not telling you with things that I just made up. I'm telling you from my personal experience and me being able to help other people, other entrepreneurs, other women, other friends, other family members, just people in general. When somebody asks me a certain question and it kind of leads into this kind of conversation, then this is the kind of conversation that we have. This is just that heart-to-heart conversation that sometimes we need to have with ourselves, with our spouse, with our family. And sometimes maybe nobody's around to have that with us. And so for you guys, because I love you, I appreciate you so much, and I value your time, I want you to know, like I said, this talk is going to be a little bit of a tough love. But anything that I say, it's never meant to hurt, harm you, or to cause you any pain or anything like that, emotionally or anything. But sometimes, again, if you want a wound to heal properly, you have to remove that, that debris, so to speak. You have to remove the shrapnel out of the wound so that it can close and heal properly. Maybe I watched too many war movies, who knows. Anyway, let's jump into the content. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about how to take control of your life. Now, there's actually two schools of thought when it comes to getting control of your life, things that you should do. I'm not going to be going through and, like I say, giving you just like the feel-good kind of material. I'm kind of going to be a little bit more raw and edgier. And sometimes, like I said, when it comes to that point in the conversation with somebody that I love, somebody that I care about, this is kind of the conversation that we have to have. And I know sometimes with entrepreneurs, we just have to have that conversation. Anybody that loves and cares for you, we just kind of talk about it. So there's two schools of thought on how you can look at your life and how you can start to deal with it. And it depends on what kind of issues have you had. What kind of experiences and challenges have you dealt with? You have people that deal with sexual violence, emotional violence, and people don't really think of verbal abuse as a real form of abuse, and it does. Your feelings really do get hurt. Your whole body is impacted by the way that you feel. Think of this: when you have a dream and you are running away from something. I've had dreams where I'm running away from a monster or something like that, or somebody scary, right? And I wake up and I jump up. I'm not just waking up like I just had an amazing dream with Mary Poppins or something playing in the field. No, it's somebody was chasing you. So what's happening with your body? Your body is reacting because your heart is beating fast. Your emotions are all out of whack, and you wake up as if that person grabbed you, or maybe they did, and your body is reacting. Or the dream where you're falling and you actually jump in the bed and your body jerks your whole body just physically reacted to things that's going on in your mind. And that may kind of sound like the Matrix kind of stuff, but there was actually a lot of logic and reasoning behind that. So it's two schools of thought when it comes to things that you can do to start taking control of your life. And the reason why I say the word take versus just like get control or to have control, because nobody's going to give you anything. This is your life. This is your life, and you have to take control of it. So you have people that'll say, you know, you hurt my feelings, or you made me have a bad day. And I'll get into what's wrong with those statements in a little bit, but nobody should really be able to make you feel anything. You have to take control of how you feel, regardless as to what someone says. And we'll talk about just some challenges and some of the issues that, you know, if it's you, you know it's you. No, you don't have to raise your hand or anything like that. But then we're also going to deal with some ways to actually take control and to have that. And then I'm going to give you some book recommendations of some of my books that actually really helped me to deal with the things that we're going to be talking about today. So the first thing that we're going to be talking about is the idea that it's somebody else's fault. Somebody else did something to me. Therefore, the end result is that I became an angry person. Therefore, the result is I started to drink more. Therefore, the thought is I started to do whatever, you know, I started to do nothing. So again, like I said, emotional abuse and verbal abuse is a real thing. And so you can get talked down to continuously until you finally work your way physically into, based off of your emotions and how you're feeling, work your way into a place where you're in a corner, you're back to back, you're not doing anything. You're just very lethargic. You aren't, you know, very energized about anything. And so here's the one thing, like I said, it's somebody else's fault. And so this is a tough one. This is probably one of the toughest ones, because when somebody really actually does do something to you, it does impact you and it does hurt, and you are affected by it. You actually are affected by it. You're not imagining it. You're not just thinking that you are. You really are dealing with an issue. And so, but the thing is, when that happens, how you perceive something, how you think about it, how you react to it, how you decide to deal with it, all will help tell that story in your mind, in your life, and as you're moving forward. So if somebody actually does do something to you, whether they hit you, whether they spoke poorly against you, or whether they've mistreated you in any kind of way, or, you know, again, just a verbal abuse, somebody's talked about you in one way, shape, or form or another, that's actual something being done to you. So again, like I said, it's two schools of thought on that. And the first one comes from Grant Cardone. Not sure if you're familiar with Grant Cardone. He's very popular right now in the business world and things like that. And a lot of people aren't drawn, well, I won't say a lot of people, but some people aren't drawn to him because of, he's harsh. He's very just like in your face kind of guy. You know, he doesn't sugarcoat it at all. He swears, he curses, you know, so he's just very just straight up. But those raw, edgier people are more drawn to it because to them it's real. It's somebody that they can identify with. And what he says is the first school of thought, is that he said, life doesn't happen to you, it happens because of you. And he will say that meaning that it is your fault that such and such happened, or it is your fault that you got into this reason, or you're the reason why. Not to say that it's your fault, but to put you in a place of control, to say that, you know, somebody didn't steal money for you. You were negligent by leaving your purse on the table. And then so already I can already hear some of you guys like, oh, what do you mean it was not my fault? You know, or what do you mean it was my fault I left? But they shouldn't have stole. They should have known better. They should have, you know, did this or whatever. So it's like, yes, that person was wrong. Of course they shouldn't have stolen. But again, when you're talking about taking control of your life, you take control of the situation. And that's his frame of thinking. Whereas if I were paying more attention, if I hadn't been so comfortable, if I hadn't gotten to a place where I was just comfortable thinking that everybody means to do me no harm, then I never would have put myself in a position to allow somebody to steal my money, because he wouldn't have a purse, but to steal my money. Unless, because it's my fault, because I left my wallet on the table, and I'm too caring of the world, thinking that nobody would mistreat me or information or anything that I do. That's on me. So again, that's one school of thought. The second school of thought is by Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins, or Anthony Robbins, is very, very extremely popular in the personal development, business, success world, all of that. And his school of thought is that life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. So things aren't happening to you because everybody's against you. Things aren't happening to you because nobody likes or loves you or cares about you. Everything is happening for your good, for your benefit. Somebody may have mistreated you. Maybe somebody did steal your money, but that happened for your good. It happened for your benefit, so that you can become more aware, more consciously aware, to not leave your money sitting on the table, or not leave it made it so that you can become more aware of your finances. It made it so that you can become more aware of your safety. So it didn't happen to you, it happened for you. So he says that life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. So those are the two frame of thoughts. Now, again, depending on maybe the type of person that you are, maybe the type of experiences that you've been through, then these two different types of school of thoughts, one may appeal to you and one may not. However, the thing is that either one gets you to the same end result, which is being able to take control. So again, it's just that, is life happening for you, or is life happening because of you? And either way, whichever one that you believe, then that's one way to just remove yourself that somebody's doing something to you. Another thing with that is that the judge me crew. So don't judge me. You're judging me. Don't judge me by the way I do. Don't judge me by what I said. Don't judge me by whatever. If that's you said that, or you felt that against somebody. And I think everybody, I think it's just normal and natural to feel like somebody has judged you improperly. I've been judged because of wearing, jogging pants and a t-shirt or whatever. Maybe I looked kind of thugged out that day, or maybe I've come from church and I may be looking all innocent or whatever that's supposed to mean, and I'm looking a certain type of way, and so that you'll hear common sayings like, "Don't take my kindness for weakness," which means basically, don't try me, don't come for me, or anything like that. So again, but the judge me crew, again, so there's something I have to say about that. Again, it's not that necessarily that somebody may have judged you, because I think everybody gets judged about something. Everybody gets judged, whether it's for a good thing or for a bad thing. Everybody judges you. People can judge you in a good way. They just say, "Oh, you've always been successful," or "You've never felt this way. How can you, talk about the challenges I've been through? You don't know what I've been through." Or "Don't judge me, because of whatever, or because of what I'm doing," right? But the thing is that, here's the thing with judgment. You can be judged wrong, but then you can be judged right too. And what I mean by that is that sometimes we need judgment. Sometimes we need to be judged on the things that we're doing, because it makes us aware of our actions, and it kind of is somebody that's looking at you outside of the box. So here's one. Somebody may say, "Don't judge me let me reverse that. You could be doing your thing, and somebody, maybe your mother, mothers can be judgy sometimes, and she may say, "You drink too much and you go out to the club too much." Is she judging you, or did she just give you facts? So you might be going out clubbing too much. You might be drinking too much. You might be smoking too much. You might be doing whatever. Drinking and smoking and clubbing are the three big bads or whatever. That's easy for, somebody to kind of pick out. But somebody could call you lazy. And they're like, "Don't judge me. I've been at work all day," or, don't try to tell me whatever. So that, again, so is it somebody, so here's the thing with judgment. Is it somebody that's actually giving you facts? Or is it somebody that's just like, whatever, they're just saying some stuff. So when you get ready to say, "Don't judge me," really consider, is it fact, or is it, that you really do spend too much money going out clubbing and you really do drink too much, it's becoming excessive. It's becoming noticeable. It's becoming out of control. It's become, so really judge when somebody says that. You be the judge. When somebody says that kind of thing to you and you're ready to say, you're judging me, is it a form of judgment or is it a fact? So really consider those two dynamics when you're talking about this. And then that goes into the second thing, which is avoiding the truth. Avoiding the truth is still within that, and this is kind of a duality with the don't judge me crew. And you can really be avoiding the truth that this thing that this person has said to you is a fact. And it's nothing wrong with that. It's the truth. It's the truth. There's really no other way to put that. So the thing is, again, when somebody's saying something to you, and we're talking about how to take control of your life, if somebody's saying something to you, did somebody see something, or can somebody recognize something that maybe you're not seeing? Is it possible that somebody sees something that you don't see? I know it's happened for me, definitely in my college days. Went out partying too much, definitely drank too much, just too much of everything, right? But the thing is that, and you're like, I just want to do me, I just want to be myself. Nobody's telling you not to be, but if you're watching this video and if you're still watching it up to this point, then again, you're trying to, not trying, but you're in the process and you're working towards finding the information to really get control of your life. And so sometimes you have to find and see those things that are out of control, or recognize when somebody else sees and finds those things that are out of control to start getting control back. And so don't avoid the truth. If somebody's telling you something, maybe it's time to believe them. So the third thing is that it's maybe we need to admit when it's time for help. I had to. I remember, and I hope my family doesn't become embarrassed or anything like that by me sharing this, but it's part of my story, it's part of my life, so I'm sharing my experience with it. So with that being said, I had a niece. If anybody that knows me, if you heard anything about me, I have a lot of nieces and nephews. I come from a big family. I love my family immensely, and my nieces and nephews are everything to me. And so when I was in college, it was my second year in school. I had just come back from like a summer or spring break or something like that, and had just come back to school. And I remember my dad called me and he told me that my niece had passed. And that was probably one of the most horrific experiences of my life. And I just could not deal anymore. I started to fall off. I started to drink a lot. I started to smoke a lot. Started to just be out there doing whatever I felt like or wanted to do, just to kind of be mentally removed from the reality that I'm sad, I'm depressed, I'm upset, I'm just emotionally withdrawn because my niece had passed. And going through that kind of experience, going through those kinds of problems, really helped me to see that it's okay to admit that you need help. So sometimes in certain communities or just, social groups or whatever, it can be saying that if you go get help, if you go to counseling, if you go to therapy, it's something wrong with you, that you're crazy. Whereas for me, it just is normal. Not saying that there aren't psychiatrists that actually help people with different issues or whatever, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, if you're going through a challenge, you need help sometimes. It's okay to admit that you need help. Sometimes, unfortunately, and I know this is gonna step on some people's toes, you can't just pray about it and things will go away. I'm not saying, now, if you know me, I'm a very devout Christian, definitely have a strong faith, and I teach the teens at my church. I do a lot of activities with our ministry, and so I'm not saying that you can't pray and see results. Absolutely, it happens. Absolutely, I believe that you can pray and see results. However, that does not negate the fact that we have to do something here too. We have work that we must do. So here's something to think about. When you are, let's say you get in a car accident. Hopefully you never will experience anything like this. Hope this isn't true for you or anybody else that you know. But let's say that you get, or somebody let's say a person gets into a car accident. This car accident causes this person to damaged the muscle in their legs. This person goes to the hospital, they begin to recuperate, and so now this person must go through what? Physical therapy. And so they have to learn to rebuild those muscles, start to teach those muscles how to properly respond, how to properly react, what to do exactly, and things like that. But why is it that sometimes if you go through an emotional traumatic event, that people will think that you don't need to go through any type of therapy to rebuild your faith muscle, rebuild your belief muscle, rebuild your emotional muscle, rebuild your self-esteem muscle? So when you think about these different faculties of the mind and of a person, it's important to know that if you in some kind of way get damaged, like I said, emotionally, and that's very easy, especially for women. My goodness, our buttons are so easy to push, but we have to rebuild ourselves emotionally. We have to rebuild ourselves mentally. These things are things that we really have to do. So if you are somebody, it's okay to admit that sometimes you need help. You don't have to go to a psychiatrist, or I can't think of what the other person would be that actually administers medicines to actually deal with it. Not saying that if you have to take something to help yourself out, do it. If you are a Christian and you want to pray over the medicine and take it and believe for your healing. So do it. But at the same time, sometimes you just need to talk through an issue with an unbiased ear. Somebody that's not going to judge you or legit judge you about the things that you may say or go through or experience. I've done this. I can't tell you how much it's helped me. I encourage my friends to do it if they are going through something, and it's not weird. It can seem weird. It's definitely uncomfortable. Sometimes just opening up and sharing stuff about you is definitely not the easiest thing. But then you have those laws, of course, that prevent them from saying anything, and they don't know your family. They are only going based off of you. So again, it's life happening to you, for you, or because of you. So they will show you how that life is happening for you. So yeah, these issues and these challenges and these things that we may experience are hard. It's difficult, but at the same time, things are happening for your good. So that it's like, well, how can you say this horrific event, this thing that happened to me or whatever, how did it happen for my good? Case in point, I just shared with you how my niece passed. How would something like that happen for my good? Knowing that I was just with my niece, I had just held my niece, I had pictures on my phone of my niece in my bed, and all of those different things. How can something like that be for me, right? So don't get me wrong, I get it's an emotional challenge, but at the same time, it helped to build and develop me. It helped me to grow. It helped me to see different other challenges and stuff that I was dealing with that I had just buried in my heart and emotionally, and that just broke me. It broke me. It completely broke me. And so now I'm able to, or at that time I was able to go to counseling after I had it's like enough is enough. I'm tired of living and being the way I'm feeling, and I hadn't yet gotten into personal development at all. But I realized it has to be more to life. It has to be more to this experience. Everybody has different experiences of life, and you see different ones on TV, but how can we really capture that? So I went there, I started to do different things, started to do like different exercises. No, I wasn't administered any medicine because I wanted to be at a place to where, like it's like taking a pill for if your leg itches sometime. I didn't want to, find a pill that if my leg itches, I'll take the pill and it'll stop it. I just wanted to figure out how to scratch it. Maybe put some lotion on, maybe it's dry skin, it's itching, that kind of stuff. If it was something simple, I just wanted me to be okay. Let me learn how to rebuild these emotional muscles. Let me learn how to rebuild this emotional strength. So those are some things. So like I said, that's a very, very important one. And that's learning to admit when you may need help. Whew. Okay, so now we're at the home stretch. We're almost done. We're talking about how to take control of your life. If you're still watching this, you're a winner. In my book, you're a champion. Because even just to hear these things, sometimes it stirs up emotions, it stirs up frustrations, it stirs up memories that trigger emotions, and it can be hard to deal with. But now let's talk about some ways that we've, figure out maybe some different challenges, maybe reframed our thinking around dealing with some of the challenges and the things that we may have experienced. So now let's go into the rebuilding, regrowing, and redeveloping phase, because all of those mean that you are in motion to a solution. Okay, so one of the things that I always love to suggest, and that was actually suggested to me originally when I went to counseling, this was, I don't even know, whenever, maybe 2008, 9, I think something like that. So here's the thing, you got to find an outlet. You have to find, okay, so you have all this stuff built up in you. You have to find a way to get all that crap out, okay? You have to figure out, how can I start to release and not just, like hit a punching bag, which is pretty cool sometimes, but how can I begin to release this in just like a daily way? So emotionally, again, we have all of these different challenges and things like that happen to us, and we just pack emotion on top of emotion on top of emotion. Now we need to start unlayering those emotions and begin to deal with some of the challenges and things that we are experiencing. And so with that, what is that thing that you're going to do every day? For me, it's journaling. It's also, I've said journaling, writing. I like to write stories sometimes. It may start off with a dream or something that I had, and I expound on that, or just an idea or something that I have, and I'll begin to write a short story. I actually want to start filming some of these, which is pretty cool that I got involved with video and creating these and things like that. And I know the technology, have all the tools. So eventually, I want to do that. So again, life happens for you, right? So now you can start to draw. Now you can start to, one of these things I'm seeing around in different communities, and you can check and just kind of Google in your city, things like wine and painting or something like that, or painting with a twist, I think is what they're called. And you can draw. I'm seeing like people that, couldn't color inside the line when I was in school, really start to create some really neat pictures. So you can do like the painting with numbers or painting with a twist kind of deal. And basically people drink wine and go out to a social event, and they learn to draw some kind of picture, and anybody can do it. And so you may begin to sing. You may begin to do all kinds of stuff. Maybe you're starting to do community work. It's something that you want to do, whatever that thing may be. So for me, like I said, it's writing. I start to journal, do short stories, and then it's also reading books. So if you don't know already, I'm obsessed with books. Okay, coffees and books are my obsessions, and I don't look forward to being cured anytime soon. So you got to find an outlet. Start getting some things out in a creative way. Start to create some things from the time, the emotions, the frustrations, or whatever. And for me, writing was really good, and was something that my counselor was able to kind of figure that was something I used to do in the past, and that I needed to start over doing it again. And it's just very releasing. I've had where I was going through really challenging times, and it's like I just have a whole journal of crap. I guess I could have titled it that, the journal of crap. And I know. So once that journal was full, and I kept it very thin to just make sure that I didn't start to just always be frustrated and not really have an outlet or whatever, and just keep it to a minimal. I got a thin notebook from like the dollar store, Dollar Tree. And it was just like the journal of stuff that I hated, didn't like, when I was really upset and didn't like. And so I would do that, and then at the end of the year, I burned it. End of the year, that year I burned it. And for me, that was just to show, like, and some people do that. I wanted to do it that year because it was full of a lot of crap. And so I just got rid of it. I deleted it so that I could make sure that, these are things that I've released. These are things that I don't have to deal with anymore. Okay, so this one is another tough one. And this is forgive yourself. I know this is hard. I get it. And as we move on in life, we have to learn to forgive ourselves for a lot of stuff that we said, things that we've done, things, especially stuff in the past. And you replay that thing better than the best VHS back in the day, better than the best, Blu-ray DVD player today, right? Or I don't know what's better than Blu-ray DVD. Let me know in the comments. So, better than all of that stuff. You start to replay that stuff in your mind. It re-triggers the emotions and how you feel, and it's just like, So when you're talking about that, you have to really learn to forgive yourself. And this is a process. Hear me loud and clear. This is a process. It does not happen overnight at all. You have to learn to forgive yourself, and it starts by saying, I forgive me. I'll go look myself in the mirror, look myself in the eyes, and say, Diana, I forgive you. I forgive you for, talking poorly to whomever, your sister. I forgive you. And then ask for forgiveness from that person, if it's a person maybe. Start to remove those things off of your heart, off of your plate, and then just try to not forget it, but just remove yourself emotionally from it. Now, how can you do that? I'm gonna go through some books in just a minute here, books that really help change me and I hope are of value to you. But the thing is that when you're talking about forgiving yourself, again, it's a process, and everybody kind of does this in their own way. But when you're saying to forgive yourself, it's a day by day process. And it starts with every time you think about whatever that thing is that may have impacted and changed your life forever. You know, life doesn't happen to you, life happens for you. So think that and think, how can I use this to my good? What have I learned from this? What have I gained from this? And everybody can become a teacher. Anybody can become a coach, because you can coach somebody through the issues and the challenges and the frustrations that you've had in your life. Everybody can. It could be, and I think this is most helpful for me, even just having the privilege of working with the teens in my church, to share with them the same things like that, or similar things that I'm sharing with you guys now. Share with them these experiences. Let them, hear my heart. Share this kind of stuff on the podcast. I know I share a lot of stuff there too. And just be able to help somebody through. And you don't know the feeling that you get when you get that email and somebody says thank you, or you read that message or that comment and they say, wow, thank you, this really helped me, or oh my gosh, thank you. like I felt like maybe I was the only one. I felt like I was the only one dealing with this kind of stuff. Thank you. So just to know that your experience, it wasn't for nothing. You can always help somebody else through, in your own space, in your own way, go through some of the challenges. So again, life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. Okay, so the third thing with that, when you're talking about rebuilding yourself, is that now you have to do something constructive. You have to do something to start to put that brick after brick after brick after brick. So again, you may be now writing to build yourself up, not just to get the crap out, but start to capture your thoughts and think of the things that you want to do in your life. Maybe you're starting to read. For me, that was personal development books. So now the journaling that I used to do in the past, just to release stuff, and I still do. If I get through one of those emotionally challenging moments, then I still will write something. But then again, they become less and less over time, right? And so then the ones for what you want to do in life, they begin to grow more and more. So you begin to replace those poor experiences, those bad experiences. Every time somebody made you mad or something like that, you begin to remove yourself from those types of situations, because you're growing, you're changing every day, every year, every moment of the day, right? And so it could be going to counseling and beginning to get help, and they can help give you some strategies and things that you can do to start working on it, that just in your talking, you don't hear what you're saying, you don't really pay attention to some of the stuff that you may say, but somebody else that doesn't know you, like, man, you sound really passionate when you talk about this, or like you just light up on fire when you start talking about this, and you don't even realize, you're like, oh, nobody's gonna care about that, nobody's worried about whatever. Nobody wants to do painting while they drink wine. Maybe you started doing that when you invited your friends, whoever came up with this, and you decided to, like, people are like, man, I really love these sessions. I really love just talking and painting and sitting back, having a glass of wine. And you're like, oh, nobody cares about this. This is something I like to do. That thing that you typically say that about, that is the thing that you should be paying attention to, right? So start to figure out what that thing is. Is it reading? Is it writing? Is it drawing? Is it singing? Is it fencing? Is it exercising? Is it swimming? Whatever. It's always something that's there to help build yourself up while you're going through the things that you're dealing with, and you begin to rebuild yourself from them. Okay, so now I'm going to get into my favorite part of this session. If you're still with me, you are a trooper, okay? My favorite part of this session is I'm going to get into some books and things like that help me. And just to keep it kind of short, I'm not going to give you a synopsis of the book. I'm just going to give you a quick summary overview and things like that, and just kind of how it helped me. Now, real quick, if you've heard anything from me, especially from the podcast or anything that I love to watch, you know that I recommend this book like crazy, which is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. So the reason why this book actually isn't on the list is because even though this book was super impactful in my business life, in my thinking and experience like that, and then later it became the thing that helped me when it comes to personal development, it wasn't that initial book that really helped me grow. It was more like psychology books, and because I'm a more analytical person, things that are about thinking, things that about how to deal with challenges emotionally, and that was it. But this book wasn't in the playbook, so to speak, when I first got going. So that's why you won't see Think and Grow Rich on this list. And even if you are somebody that's kind of drawn to read that, and maybe you know some of the challenges and things that are experiencing and kind of dealing with come from a financial perspective. And so most people, they pick up this book thinking that it's something going to be like this book, The Money Book by Tony Robbins. In this book, he will give you all kinds of figures and charts and financial accounting stuff. In this book, there's not one financial chart at all. It's all about you, rebuilding and developing you, growing you, and the mindset and the thought process and the things like that. So when it comes to personal development, if it's something when it deals with a book, some kind of information, you have to figure out, is this something that's more to come from the psychological aspect of it, the thought process? And sometimes that can be more important than the actual financial stuff. Because again, if you're not emotionally built up to actually go and ask for the sale, so to speak, as some, you know, gurus and stuff like that we'll talk about, or business people, whatever. I guess I'm a business person. But if you're not that person that's going to ask for the sale because you have these issues about maybe like you feel like you're taking money from people. I initially felt like that when I first got involved in business. Then the money book will do you no good because you haven't dealt with the issues psychologically. And don't let that word trip you out too much, but you haven't dealt with the emotional issues that come prior to even opening your mouth and speaking. So when it comes to personal development, just know where that content is going to take you. Just kind of look at an overview, summary, or preview it or something like that. So let's get into the books. Okay, so the first book is actually called The Energy Bus by John Gordon. And he actually has a couple of these books. I don't even know if you can see this, but I'll put a link in the description as well. But this book was a book that I got from my aunt. And this was because I actually had a really bad attitude. I know, shocker, right? I had a bad attitude, and it's not even just like towards other people all the time. It was just me. You know, it was just me dealing with my own stuff and being frustrated with my own life again. So learning to take control. And it's just like, you got a funky attitude. You got a bad attitude. You need to do something about it. Well, stuff needs to change in my life for things to change. No, it's like for things to change, you must change. And so this book really helped me to, one, deal with me. And so again, this John Gordon, he doesn't know me, doesn't even know I exist, right? But at the same time, wrote this book for me. So life doesn't happen to you life doesn't happen to you, life happens for you. So again, the person that he's talking to in this book was my kind of person. And then he has other books, a lot of other books, like The Shark and the Goldfish, I believe is his book. A lot of other books. I got too many books to name, and too many of his to name, really. And I think the other one, it dealt with like a football player or something like that. I can't recall it. I'll put all the stuff in the description that I can't think of, or in the YouTube eye, which should be over here, the little gray eye there. So, but this book, the reason why it helped me was because, again, it dealt with me emotionally and just my level of thinking and the things that really helped me to change me without anybody else being involved. What are things that I can do? And then also one of the key critical points that you will discover is that even once you begin to start to change and fix the things in your life, you have to fix the things and the people around you too. Not fix them. You have to fix who you're hanging around. So again, it comes back to you. Who are you hanging around? And one of the common things is that you'll hear a lot of financial success experts talk about is, show me your 5 closest friends and I'll show you your network. Or, show me your 5 closest friends and, just those kinds of people, and I'll show you what kind of person that you are. Is that because we tend to gravitate to who we are. And if you're the smartest person out of that bunch, then you need to find a different group. You want to be in a group of people where you can grow, develop, share information, and all of that. And so this not only taught me to start to gravitate away from people and just kind of like how to begin to do that. So the Energy Bus talked about having the right people on your bus, on your team, who are you hanging with? Who are you talking to? If somebody doesn't have the right attitude, and he doesn't just like talk about it, he like shows you and goes through how. And this book is super thin, so this is an easy read, very, very easy read. I used to read these on lunch in between classes when I was going to college. So Energy Bus, #1 top pick right here. Next huge book was this book, which is What to Say When You Talk to Yourself by Shad Helmstetter. Now this book was incredible. I don't even know how many times I've read this book. And I also have the audio book. But one of the key stories that's in this book talks about, imagine that if you have where you have a room, you have a beautiful house, but in this house, you have old furniture, you have just a bunch of crap, the sofa's torn, the rug is ripped up, it's discolored, it's stained, just the worst of the worst kind of furniture maybe that you would find in an abandoned home, right? And so you have all of this stuff, but this is your furniture, this is your stinking thinking, this is what this furniture represents. And so that's the same way with the things that you think, as well as the same way with the things that you speak. And so now, when the things that you're speaking, you always say the same bad stuff. But let's say you go to, and I'm not knocking him or anything like that. I love Anthony Robbins, but a lot of people talk about him for this reason. And they'll say that he's just like a feel-good, rah-rah person, and then you get home and you don't have anything to do. You just went and spent, a few grand and you feel great for a little while. And then you get deflated and you go back to your old habits, which people have experienced, but I would beg to differ. There's something to miss there because of all of his programs. But this isn't about Tony Robbins. This is about Shad Helmstetter. So he talks about replacing that old, bad, terrible furniture that's your thinking, your thoughts, and the things that you're saying with actual good stuff. And so the reason why he does it in this way and shares it in this way is because basically, if you have a chair and you're sitting on that chair, if somebody takes that chair away, or even if you say, I don't want this chair anymore, it's crap, it doesn't work, or it's crappy, and you throw it out and you put it in the dumpster, and you come back in the house, and let's say you remove all of this crap out of your house, get rid of everything, right? All the poor, bad stuff. However, you now have nowhere to sit, you have nowhere to eat, you have no dishes, you have no sofa, you have no TV, so all the stuff that you did have, you no longer have it, and you're like, well, I don't have anywhere to sit. Well, I'm just gonna get the chair out for, a little while, just so I can have something to sit on. I'm gonna get rid of it, but I'm gonna sit on it for a little while. It's like, well, I really want some dinner. I want something to eat. Let me just go get the table and that other chair for the dining table. Let me just go get that stuff back. And then, come tomorrow morning, it's out the house. And then before you know it, everything has been replaced because you never went and threw this crap in the dumpster. You may have put it in a storage container. You may have put it in another room, out of sight, out of mind, right? But you didn't really get rid of it. So when you really throw that crap away, you throw away the thoughts that you have, you throw away the things that you say, then now you have to start looking at what can I go and buy to replace it? What can I go and do to get rid of it, right? Or not get rid of it, get more stuff. So if you get rid of an old crappy chair, and that chair may represent the things that you say about yourself, maybe by the way that you look or the way that you sound or anything like that, and you replace that with, I'm beautiful, I love my voice, I love the way I sound, I love everything about me and whatever else. Now you've given yourself another chair to sit on. But if you just say, I'm just going to stop cursing, but you don't really replace and strengthen your words or your vocabulary, then you just go back to it. And so it works like that with everything. So that book was incredible. I can't recommend it enough. If you don't get anything else that I talk about, then I would definitely say check out this particular book. Next book is this book, which is The Master Key to Riches by Napoleon Hill. So of course, somewhere in the list, he was going to make it, but not Think and Grow Rich. But this particular book was really impactful for me because it definitely is, for me, I felt like it was more of a blend between Think and Grow Rich and The Law of Success. And The Law of Success is the real version of Think and Grow Rich. Think and Grow Rich is a watered down version. However, when you really start to think of the mindset and the things like that, just in a different way than Think and Grow Rich, then this book really talks about it. And again, it's dealing with you. It's dealing with how you think, how you look, how you just deal with yourself. It's really like a gut check for me. And so you would think, again, Master Key to Riches, it doesn't have anything to do with anybody really but you and how you're treating people, how you're responding to things, how you're dealing with all different kinds of stuff. So this book was definitely incredible, and Napoleon Hill's philosophy that he really gained and learned from his experience, studying different authors, entrepreneurs, the most successful men of his time. When he was commissioned by Andrew Carnegie to do so, he wasn't paid to do this. He did it for 20 years. Nobody paid him. But the wealth of knowledge that he got and eventually produced wealth for himself and for his family gave him a whole nother different philosophy on life. And there's definitely something to be learned from somebody who, companies that still exist to this day, that have created sub-companies or the parent companies for a lot of the major movers and shakers in America, then it's something to sit down and read. And this book is only 200 pages, barely, I think, front to back. Thin book. Again, don't be perturbed by the distance in the language as far as the time frame and stuff like that. It's something that even if you don't get this book, you can get the audiobook, which is way easier to listen to than to read sometimes. But again, I'll link everything up, even like the audiobook, where you can find it on Amazon. But it's worth listening to. It's definitely worth giving it a shot and a try, because you're talking about taking control of your life and about taking control. It's about taking control, and give yourself a gut check sometime, kind of like this video. Last book is my favorite book. I can't even say in the world anymore, but it's one of my most favorite books ever. It's not the favorite, but it used to be the favorite, and it's probably going to shock you a little bit. This is The Other Boleyn Girl by Philippa Gregory. And I laugh because you're probably like, what the heck does that have to do with anything? I thought this was like a personal development business kind of video. I've been watching for probably like 20 minutes. What the heck are you talking about? Okay, so stay with me on this one. And this is a thick book. This book is, 700 pages. And I read this book in I think 4 or 5 days, 4.5, 5 days. I plowed through this thing. I love this book. I read it multiple times. Probably gonna read it again now that I've touched it. But so this book, the reason why this book was so impactful and powerful to me, because you think about the challenges that a woman goes through. And I know that probably most of the women or most of the people that will watch this video are women. Not saying anything about the men, but I just kind of know my audience. So when I think about the challenges and the things that we deal with, I think this book embodies it best, and it really, really helped me because it was something that I enjoy. I love historical fiction. I love Philippa Gregory. She's my absolute favorite historical fiction author. I just love her work and her creative style, right? And so, but she understands and she gets how, the woman experience, the human experience from a woman's perspective. And so when I say that, she tells the story in this book of the second sister of Anne Boleyn, who everybody's familiar with. If you've seen The Tudors, anything else like that, love that show too. You can buy me the DVD set anytime you're ready. But anything dealing with the Tudor series, everybody knows that Henry VIII killed his wife, Anne Boleyn. And so this was the sister that I had no idea at the time even existed. And so yes, this is what sparked the movie and all of the TV series and all of that extra other stuff. And so when you look at this story, it's from the sister's perspective. And the first, that's why I call it The Other Boleyn Girl. So it's not about Anne Boleyn, it's about her sister Mary. So Mary, of course, she fell in love with the king. You can probably skip over this part if you don't want to hear it, but I'm gonna tell you why this book matters and why it helped me when I talk about taking control of my life, because she got stepped on, she got kicked to the side, she got abused. She was like a plaything, for a while. Yeah, she loved the king. Yeah, he loved her for a time, and they eventually had a child together, I believe. But I'm not sure if that's factual, because again, it's historical fiction, so I'm not really sure. But I'm not sure if that's completely factual. However, the point is that in the midst of everything else going on, she was treated like crap. Women in this time in this time, they're treated like crap. Your only purpose is to breed. If you're born, if you're highborn, then you're to breed at a certain level, or marry at a certain level, a certain class. You're the job of a woman, of a good woman. It's not because she takes care of her children. It's not because she washes the dishes. It's not because she does anything. It's because she is able to produce an heir. She's able to produce children. And so with that perspective in mind, and this book being written by a woman, it talks about those emotional challenges and the things that women deal with, and being talked about, and being kicked to the side, and being mistreated, or just being used for your gifts, and just all of those different things. And when you're talking about a king, at this time, you don't do anything against the king. You don't speak against the king. You do whatever he tells you to do, whether you feel like it or not. If he loves you and you don't love him anymore, which happened in the book, then you still do whatever he wants to, and you can't displease him, because everybody knows Henry kind of lost it after a certain point in his life. So you have to learn to find your way. And so in this book, she takes control of her life. She, regardless as to what's going on, and stuff is really happening to her. Some stuff was just not for her in this book, but things do happen to her. But she figures out how to find a way to make it happen for her. And she does it in such a way that she comes out on top in the end. And regardless as to whatever's happening, no amount of craziness keeps her from getting to her end result. And that's why this book was so incredibly powerful for me, is because, again, like you and this is like based off a real life experience, somebody's real life. I mean, again, not everything's not a biography, but at the same time, just to put yourself in the mindset, put yourself in that scenario and walk in somebody else's shoes that dealt with that kind of a thing, and you just like, I can do this. It reaffirms to yourself, I can do this. I can get through this crap. I don't have a king ruling over me. And some people may feel that like their job is that thing that's ruling over them, or that maybe in a poor marriage and that person is ruling over you, or just whatever the case may be. Like I said, emotional challenges is just as bad as the physical ones, sometimes worse. But the thing is that book hit on everything. Every single thing that we've even talked about in this video is that book, the essence of that book, especially from a woman's perspective. And like I said, I think emotionally, we're just more sensitive creatures. We are just like that. And you don't have to learn to be cold or harsh or anything like that, or very blunt or anything. You can still be a very pleasing person, very warm person, but learn to have control over yourself and everything like that. And don't worry about if somebody says something to you, because you've emotionally developed yourself to where somebody else's words don't dictate how you feel. Somebody else's actions don't cause you to react or in such a way that where you are out of control. You always remain in the best amount of control that you can. And all of this stuff is a process. You definitely have stuff that triggers you. But again, you can start to learn to not letting people push your button by not even letting them know that button exists. Because people try you just for the fact of trying you. People play around with you just for the fact to see if they can get to you. And so when you start to remove yourself from those people and things like that, you start to find a better way to live. Whew, this is deep. We've talked about some stuff today, guys. We've talked about some stuff today, and I told you in the beginning, like, it goes there. And so, I mean, we definitely didn't talk about everything we could have talked about, but I didn't want to shortchange this video. I didn't want to make it 5 minutes or 2 minutes or 3 minutes. I wanted to really talk about stuff, because probably people that's going to watch this, they're watching this stuff at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning when nobody else is up, when they're feeling some type of way, or they're just ready, they're tired, and they're ready to do something about life. So I wanted to make sure that for that person that gets through this video, for that person that can sit and watch this video and really take something from it, it was all worth it. All the time that it took to edit, to put it together, to record, just whatever it takes to kind of produce this kind of video, this length. I mean, I could turn this into a course. However, I wanted to put this out free. I wanted this to be available to whomever may need it. And so I hope that this blesses you. I hope that it brings value to you and help you to see that no matter what you're going through, no matter what happens to you, life is happening for you. So I will talk to you guys later, my friends. And as always, live with passion. I'll see you guys in the next video.